It's worth hearing those beautiful, simple words again as they were originally written. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, we come round right. Did you notice one word in that was different from what we sang in our hymnal? 'Tis the gift. Not just a gift, but 'tis the gift. These are the original words as written by Joseph Brackett, whose family farm in Maine had become the nucleus of a new Shaker community. The song spread in popularity when in 1944 it was incorporated into Aaron Copland's score for the ballet Appalachian Spring, but it dates back 100 years earlier to 1848. It was written as a dance song for Shaker worship. So the final verses are both a theological statement as well as simple dance instructions. The lyrics express some of the core Shaker beliefs and values, including, of course, simplicity. They believed that freedom from worldly goods and living a simple life would lead to spiritual and material satisfaction. For them, simplicity is the gift. It is all we need. And humility. To bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed, the song says. They were not embarrassed or ashamed of how they lived. The principles and values that structured Shaker living were meant to prepare them to live in the kingdom of God as it unfolds here on earth. This is the valley of love and delight. The Shakers were a religious community that chose to live outside the American mainstream in many ways. They practiced communal living. They didn't believe in procreation, so they relied on recruiting converts and adopting children to grow their community. They were pacifists. They had radical ideas of gender equality for the time and lifted up the leadership of women. Their worship services included dancing, and in general, they separated themselves from the flurry of industrializing society and lived simple, rural, agriculturally based lives. Compared to the Shakers, we here today live in a world of spinning complexity. And in this holiday season of Thanksgiving, Advent, Christmas, New Year's, because they all run together, it seems even more so, don't you think? We spend a lot of our lives spinning, sometimes out of control, turning and turning, seeking that place where we ought to be, or at least where we think we ought to be, a place that feels just right. In our society, to choose simplicity, true simplicity, not just the art of decluttering or whatever else is the fad of the day, is radical. This Shaker worship song reminds us that simplicity is the gift. It's not about the accumulation of more stuff, but a recognition of what is already present. Until we realize this, we cannot truly come down where we ought to be, because we'll be forever seeking something else or something more. Simple gifts are what the Haudenosaunee people greet and thank in the Thanksgiving address, parts of which were included in the reading that I shared earlier, a reflection on the address by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation based in Shawnee, Oklahoma. The Thanksgiving address names the gifts of the earth and our connection to them. The Haudenosaunee, also known as the Iroquois Confederacy, is made up of 6 nations: the Mohawk, Oneida, Cayuga, Onondaga, Seneca, and Tuscarora. The Haudenosaunee open and close every social and religious gathering with the Thanksgiving address. Many say it as a daily sunrise prayer, and as you heard earlier, it is recited by children in their schools. And you should know that it is actually much longer than what I shared in the reading. It probably takes 15 or 20 minutes, I would imagine, for school children to recite. Earlier, the choir sang so beautifully a song of gratitude, which includes the line, "Light you shine everywhere, shaping our wonder." The Thanksgiving address, a practice of gratitude, shines light on all these things from which we receive and to which we give. When we realize this, we can't help but be in a place of awe and wonder. Isn't it amazing that the sun shines and the water flows and the birds fly and the plants feed us? The address is an acknowledgement of abundance. And that abundance is simply life and earth, not lots of stuff. When our relationship of reciprocity with this abundance becomes part of our living, it is then that we find ourselves in the valley of love and delight. I would describe it as an experience of grace, knowing that we are held and nourished by the earth, and that we in turn have a role in holding and nourishing it. Kimmerer says you can't listen to the Thanksgiving address without feeling wealthy. This is not, however, the image of wealth promoted by the society that we live in. Kimmerer suggests that in our context, the context that most or all of us in this room inhabit, contentment is radical and gratitude is revolutionary. Contentment and gratitude are revolutionary because, as she says, they undermine the economy that thrives by creating unmet desires. Perhaps contrary to what advertising tells us, we do have everything that we need. I've known the song Simple Gifts, as many people have since I was a child. But when singing it and reflecting on it in preparation for today, my association with the lyrics was a little different than before. To turn, turn will be our delight made me think of my daughter Ellery, who has recently discovered the joy and the peril of turning and turning in circles until she gets dizzy and falls down. When she falls down, she gets back up and she continues turning and turning around. She hasn't quite grasped the idea of turning till you come down right. She's experimenting with the turning of life. As evidenced by her laughter, it is a simple delight. But, as we know, when taken to an extreme, it causes us to get dizzy and fall. Isn't that true for all of us? In this song, though, the Shakers referred to a positive notion of this turning. It was literally a dance, but figuratively a turning toward God, toward community, toward the essence and simplicity of life. A friend and UU minister colleague of mine, who happens to have grown up in upstate New York, like myself, associates the song Simple Gifts with an embarrassing experience that she had at age 11. She and her family were part of a celebration of America's bicentennial, and they were really into it, the passion and the pomp and the parade and the community spirit. So for the occasion, her mom made her an 18th century costume. That same summer, her Girl Scout troop put together a chorus to sing a program of patriotic tunes at the county fair. And of the 50 girls in the chorus, all but one got the memo to wear their Girl Scout uniform. And she did not. She showed up in her bicentennial costume. And of course, she had a solo on Simple Gifts. She stuck out and she was mortified. Still today, when she sings the song, she can remember viscerally her embarrassment. But now she has some perspective on it. And she knows not to be ashamed, because we shan't be ashamed. By turning, we come round right. As she wrote recently in a reflection, the simple truth is, I am who I am. I have done what I have done. But I keep turning and turning. I keep moving on, keep finding out and being simply who I am. 'Tis a gift, indeed, to be simple. Coming down where we ought to be probably means something different for each of us here. It can refer to being okay with who you are, okay with what you have done or not done, or decisions that you've made. It can refer to being in the right kind of work or career, or in right relationship with the people in your life. It can mean that you dwell in a place that feels like home. But the place just right is not necessarily a physical location, but a place of mind and of being and a disposition of the soul. And we know that it's just right because we feel this sense of love and delight. Do you have these places in your life right now where things are just right, where you are content and fulfilled? And how do you know that it's so? It can be really hard to identify those places where we are truly content, where we don't want more or think we should be doing more or yearn for something deeper or struggle with dissatisfaction. So the challenge that I'm proposing to you and to myself, to all of us, this week in particular of Thanksgiving, is to discern where those places are and to relax into them. A connection to our contentedness and gratitude will help prepare and fortify us for the holiday season. We can deepen this sense of contentedness and gratitude by slowing down in the race toward Christmas and intentionally practicing simplicity when it comes to the holidays. I tend to resist some of the extravagance of the winter holidays, the over-the-top decorations and such, and I often struggle to find the perfect gift for the people most important to me. And while I resist the consumerism of the season, I do love the smells and the sparkle of lights and the music. I also love gathering and sharing food with family and friends. And perhaps this is enough of a gift. To intentionally practice simplicity is not just for ourselves and our souls, but it's also a way to offer a simple and much-needed gift to others. It can remove the pull of all the many shoulds in our lives. This fall, I've been helping to lead our church's Navigating Grief class. And last week, in the final session, we talked about how to cope with the holidays ahead when we are grieving losses and mourning the absence of a loved one at holiday gatherings. It's a time when it can be hard to feel grateful, and yet there's an intense pressure to do so. We reminded the class participants and ourselves that you don't have to do everything. In fact, you don't have to do anything. You can step back, you can simplify, you can focus on what's most important, you can return to tradition, or you can create new traditions to reflect the shift in your circle of loved ones. When we're okay with this, the holidays can become an experience of love and delight once more. This week, when you gather with others for Thanksgiving, whether it's around a table in your own home or someone else's, or at a restaurant or here at church, even if you are by yourself, I hope you will take a moment to invoke the words that come before all else, the words of thanks. Reflect on and name those things that are just right. Reflect on and name the simple things, like the breath that moves through our lungs and the blood that courses through our veins, the forces that sustain life. And if these just right places are hard to find, by turning toward gratitude, toward simplicity, toward community, toward God, may you come round right. If nothing else, we can give thanks for this hour together, for this time that we share, for the spirit and generosity of the community here. Now our minds are one. May it be so, and amen.